Amsterdam, April 2023. Early summer sunlight filtered through the leaves, glinting on the still waters of the Spiegelgracht. Emma Janssen, 32 years old, a rising star in interior design, draped in a silk scarf, stepped confidently into the boardroom of De Vries and Partners. Behind her, her business trip to Paris had brought promises of promotion that made her glow with pride. That afternoon, Alexander De Vries, her husband and chairman of the board, greeted her in the luxurious L-Block lobby. His warm smile made Emma believe that all her worries had melted away. They raised glasses of Champagne La Grande Dane to celebrate her new project. Pride sparkled on Alexander's lips as he said, "You're as wonderful as the day we met in Utrecht, remember?" Yet in Alexander's eyes there lingered a hint of reservation. A few days earlier, Emma had heard rumors that he was often meeting with Camille Laurent, his personal assistant, also in charge of sweetening the most lucrative contracts. They said she had a special mechanism for advancement. A pang of disappointment crept into Emma's heart. She told herself, "It's only gossip, I'll ask him directly." That evening, in their penthouse on Keizersgracht, Emma sat across from her husband, the candlelight tracing her delicate features. In that suspended moment, Emma asked, "Alexander, you and Camille, are you?" Alexander paused, his voice lowering. "You're center stage at the firm now, I don't want you distracted. As for Camille, don't overthink it." Emma tried to force a smile, but her heart had already cracked. Late-night meetings, his phone dead at odd hours, and empty reassurances no longer soothed her. Silently she gazed out at the city mirrored in the canal, wondering, was this happiness just an elaborate facade? A month later, Emma received a frantic call from her mother-in-law while preparing for her unborn child's 6-month birthday celebration. The news that her first grandchild would soon arrive filled Emma with joy. But en route to the Belgian Motor Festival in Antwerp, disaster struck. Emma's white Bentley sat waiting at a red light when the screech of tires announced an impact from behind. Camille Laurent, the other woman, had plowed into the rear of Emma's car in a moment of careless rage. Metal screeched and glass shattered. Emma was thrown forward, pain stabbing her abdomen. In the mottled glow of headlights, she saw Camille stumble from her car, panic on her face. "Oh God! I didn't mean to." Everything spun. An ambulance arrived, its lights flashing. At Antwerp Hospital, a doctor tapped gently on the curtain and delivered the devastating news: Emma had miscarried, and her condition was unstable. More shattering than the physical pain was the sense of betrayal by her husband. Alexander managed only 2 words of regret before disappearing into the crowd. From the ICU window, Emma caught a glimpse of late remorse in his eyes, but also an undeniable flutter at the sight of Camille. That night, lying beneath the sterile white sheets, Emma made her decision. She had to leave Amsterdam, leave behind every painful memory. The next morning, she booked a one-way ticket to Brussels, packed 2 suitcases of clothes and carried with her a heart full of bitterness. Emma woke in a tiny room tucked away in Ixelles, Brussels. She blinked to find herself on a single bed with a pale cream sheet, a window ajar to let in the autumn breeze. Her mind still reeled with sirens and flashing hospital lights from Antwerp. This place was totally foreign, trams rumbled by, café chatter blended French and Dutch. The late afternoon sun cast a sickly yellow streak across the rough brick wall. Emma sat up, her heart pounding with fresh memories of loss. She shook her head, no turning back to Amsterdam. The night before, after leaving the hospital, Emma had gone to the Zuid station bus stop and bought a one-way ticket to Brussels. She'd stripped her luggage of files, drawing pens, sentimental gifts, leaving them all behind. Upon arrival, she booked an Airbnb under the name Amara Yance, a variant far enough removed to hide her true identity. The next morning, Amara, formerly Emma, strolled down Rue Américaine to Boulangerie du Parc. She ordered a butter croissant and a cappuccino, watching the hurried passers-by while calculating her next steps. With only €3,000 left, she needed work fast. Grateful she had photographed several of her interior projects at De Vries and Partners, she resolved to freelance in interior design. That afternoon, Amara went to Cowork 3, a startup and freelancer hub on Avenue Louise. She emailed prospects. "Hello, I'm Amara Jans, freelance interior designer with 5 years Amsterdam experience. Available for apartment and small office design, cost-efficient solutions." While awaiting replies, Amara took a small job, cleaning and repainting a studio apartment for a Belgian client. 2 days of painting, reupholstering a chair, measuring shelves earned her €150 for 8 hours, enough for rent and meals. Each evening, Amara wandered through Cinquantenaire Park, taking a seat by the fountain beneath the shimmering canal lights. She told herself, "I will get through this. I must be resilient." The pain of losing her child and betrayal still haunted her, but time was her ally. One drizzle-soaked afternoon, as Amara drafted a sofa and bookshelf layout for a flat near the Bourse, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Hello Amara, I've been referred to you for a small office redesign. Please contact me." Elated, she arranged a Zoom meeting that evening. Choosing a white blouse and dark jeans, simple but professional, she logged in. The glow of a yellow virtual meeting light revealed the Gosselin and Partners logo. Javier Gosselin, the 15-person finance consulting CEO, studied her closely. "Could you describe the style you'd apply to our workspace?" "I favor Scandinavian minimalism, maximizing natural light, using eco-friendly materials like wood and bamboo, with integrated greenery. What do you think?" The discussion flowed smoothly. They agreed on €500 for preliminary designs and €1,500 for detailed plans, enough to cover next month's rent. For the first time in weeks, Amara exhaled in relief. But as the meeting ended, Amara's heart jolted. She remembered Alexander praising her aesthetic sense. Romantic wounds flared. She shook her head firmly. "I am not Emma de Vries, with a husband and a lost child. I am Amara, freelance designer." That night, she bought a bus ticket to Bruges, to see its languid canals and Gothic churches for inspiration. Sitting on a canal's edge, she poured red wine from a flask and sipped, letting the sharp tang kindle her resolve. Far off, the bells of St. Mary's Church tolled, resonating deep within her. Tears unexpectedly welled. Images of her torn wedding gown, the empty cradle in Amsterdam, Alexander's gleaming smile lifting champagne, haunted her like an unending nightmare. Amara steeled herself. She pulled out her notebook and wrote, "Today, my first journey not to flee, but to find myself. I have lost so much, but I still have my will. I am Amara Jans, not Emma de Vries." Her blood warmed with purpose. In that fateful moment, Amara vowed, she would not let her past rule her steps. The next morning she returned to Brussels, determined to complete Gosselin and Partners' design. She stopped at Le Pain Quotidien for a vegetable sandwich and fried tofu wrap, then dove into work with renewed vigor. 2 weeks later, her drawings were finished: 3D renderings, mood boards, material schedules, lighting plans. Javier approved on the spot, paid 50% upfront, €1,000, easing her finances. Amara set aside her laptop, gazing out the office lounge window. She realized that freedom, though unstable, offered a chance to start anew. No longer shackled by status, money, or a broken marriage, she felt a cautious optimism. Twilight fell over Brussels as Amara treated herself to a night at Le Chat Noir, a cozy jazz bar hidden on Rue de Chartreux. She swapped her work attire for a black sheath dress and a light leather jacket, then settled on a bar stool and ordered whiskey and soda. The opening saxophone solo wound into a warm female vocal lament. Around her, groups laughed, but the darkness and music cocooned her loneliness. Then he appeared. Lucas de Wilde, tall, in a tailored navy suit, tousled hair falling over his forehead, smiled at her from across the bar before returning to his table by the window. His subtle cologne stirred her pulse. Within minutes, Lucas slid onto the stool beside her. "May I join you? I hope I'm not intruding." Startled, Amara nodded at his warm smile. "Please, this spot's great for the music." "Thank you. I'm Lucas de Wilde." "And you?" I'm Amara. Her voice was husky from the alcohol and nerves. Lucas offered his hand. Nice to meet you, Amara. Over soft jazz, they spoke of Brussels, each a refugee in their own right. Lucas, an investment fund manager from Liège, often in Brussels for meetings, Amara, a freelancer hustling between jobs. He described moonlit childhood evenings on the Meuse. She shared memories of cold rainy days in her former Amsterdam home. By their second and third drinks, now red wine, the amber light made Amara's face dreamy. Lucas ventured, perhaps I'm bold, but would you like a walk? The autumn midnight is beautiful outside. Amara hesitated, then said, just a short one. They stepped onto the cobblestone street, the breathy chill swirling in pale clouds. In her leather jacket Amara shivered, but felt warmth when Lucas draped his arm around her. Under the tall trees by the canal, street lamp reflections danced on the water. They stood in silent companionship, listening to the rustling wind. Suddenly, Lucas took Amara's hand and drew her close. She felt his heartbeat through his suit. Without a word, he bent and pressed a gentle yet certain kiss to her lips. The rush swept away her burdens. She responded, her hand on his neck, lost in this electric moment. The return to Lucas's hotel room was a delirium of breathless whispers and clinging embraces until, at last, peace descended and Amara drifted into sleep. Morning light crept through the curtains. Amara awoke sore, the evidence of a night unbound. Lucas was already gone, but on the pillow lay a sleek card. Lucas de Wilde, Investment Fund Manager, Liège, +32 476 123 456. Thank you for last night. Wishing you a sweet day. She forced a smile, slipping the card into her blouse pocket before heading downstairs. No one stopped her. No hurried goodbyes, only the satchel at her side and that card, a tenuous promise. Before leaving, Amara glanced back at the room and thought, this isn't a new beginning, it's destiny sowing its seeds. She exited into the bustling street, her steps quickening, her heart thudding, uncertain what the future held, but certain she would not look back. More than a week passed since that fateful night with Lucas de Wilde. Amara Yance immersed herself in projects from Brussels to Ghent. She told herself she had erased that sweet interlude, focusing solely on her work. On day 9, while measuring a new apartment in the Sablon district, a wave of nausea struck. Lightheaded and trembling, she dropped her tape measure. The client, a small family, rushed to ask if she was all right, but she managed only a weak smile. Sorry. I'm just a bit unwell. Back at her temporary flat, she collapsed onto the bed, head spinning. Dusk seeped through the curtains in smeared bands. She closed her eyes, fighting for composure, but nausea returned. Amara stumbled to the bathroom, vomiting in spasms. For the first time in months, she wondered, could it be? That night she couldn't sleep. She rummaged in her bag for the antibiotic pills she'd once bought for her mother-in-law, now repurposed as a pregnancy test. On the medicine shelf sat a box reading 99% sensitive, results in 5 minutes. Hands shaking, she opened it and entered the bathroom. Under the soft yellow light above the mirror, Amara steadied herself. She placed the stick on a small saucer, took a long breath, and watched. 5 minutes felt like a lifetime. When 2 crimson lines appeared, her heart froze. I am pregnant, she whispered, then burst into tears. Cradling her face against the sink, she felt a wrenching pain, not only physical but deep in her spirit. This signified a life, not just anxiety over work or a painful past. The next morning, dizzy and nauseous, Amara fumbled for her phone to call Lucas but shook her head. He was just a one-night thing. He won't want this responsibility. She tore up his card and tossed it into the bin, palms slick with cold sweat. Over the following week, nausea and dizziness dominated her. She postponed several client meetings, asked for extensions on her drawings. Her savings dwindled, yet she refused to reach out to Lucas. Often she pictured Lucas discovering her growing belly and choosing to claim the child. She believed in the warmth she saw in his eyes, but history taught her, never rely on a man. Finally, Amira decided to relocate. She packed 2 suitcases and left Brussels for Ghent, an hour away by train, seeking distance from Lucas. There she rented a small room in a building with a cozy veranda. At least Ghent's 2-hour train ride offered a buffer against his finding her. In her Ghent room, Amira spent her days drafting a co-working office sketch. Evenings she trudged to the local pharmacy for pregnancy tests, sanitary supplies, and prenatal vitamins. Outside, she wore loose layers, thick scarves, and masks to hide her condition. During her first trimester, constant aches plagued her. She'd perch at the window, gazing at the belfry peak through mist, but forbid herself relaxation, must keep this secret. No one can know, especially the baby's father. One afternoon, as she answered emails, a sharp pang seized her abdomen, doubling her over. She slumped at her desk, trembling, hand pressed to her cold belly. The room felt stifling, only the ticking clock bore witness. In that instant, she asked herself, if the baby is Lucas's, will he come? Or will he leave me and our child to run forever? Ghent's night was silent as she stepped onto the veranda, clutching her coat. The moon cast a gentle glow over the Lae, smoke curling from riverside cafes. She leaned on the railing, inhaling deeply. In that pale moonlight, the smeared light seemed to call her, reminding her of her vow to keep the secret. Amira closed her eyes and whispered, "My child, no matter how far I run, I will protect you, just the 2 of us." Loneliness welled, but also a newfound strength. Under the silent moon, Amira Yance, no longer Emma de Vries crying in an Antwerp hospital, realized the life inside her was destiny's gift. No matter the hardship, she had no retreat. Late autumn came to Ghent, the Lae's banks shedding their yellow leaves. Chilly drizzle blanketed the cobblestones. In her third-floor room on Boulderstraat, Amira felt every uncomfortable flutter in her lower belly. To cover expenses, she took 2 more design contracts, a co-working office in Antwerp and a penthouse near Brussels' Grand Place. She commuted by train among Ghent, Brussels, and Antwerp, lugging her heavy laptop everywhere. Each morning she rose at 6:30, brewed strong black coffee, then checked her emails. Her sprouting bump made climbing stairs exhausting. Clients only saw her in oversized coats, knit caps, masks. All meetings were by phone or Zoom, no one suspected. Morning sickness left her constantly nauseous. Once, she steadied her dripping bike outside a client's building, vomiting discreetly into a plastic bag so the meeting wouldn't suffer. Despite it all, fatigue weighed heavy. By afternoon she was dazed, limbs aching, eyes rimmed with dark circles. Amira resisted pausing work to rest, her savings wouldn't last otherwise. She needed 2 more months of earnings until the baby's arrival. Pressure mounted, once she wept over her desk in sheer exhaustion. On a Sunday evening, as she drafted a quote on Zoom, her phone rang. The display read Lucas de Wilde. Her heart jolted. "Lucas, hello Amira, is this your number?" "It's Lucas. I've been unable to reach you. Are you okay?" Her chest tightened. "He's found me," she thought. Yet she did not reply, letting the message go unread and silencing notifications. I must stay silent. He must never find me. Days later, she sensed someone tailing her, a tall man in a long coat, fedora, lurking behind a black car parked on her street. Whenever she glanced back, he melted into the shadows. Panic set in. She bought a different coat, swapped hats and shoes, avoided familiar routes. On trains, she sat facing surveillance cameras, scanning passengers for that shadowy figure. One Friday afternoon, Amira entered De Kruidvat on Brabantdam to buy prenatal vitamins. As she bent to reach a product, footsteps approached. She looked up to see a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair and curious eyes, speaking in a Turkish-laced Dutch. "Excuse me, I have a son soon due. Do you find these vitamins good for pregnancy?" Her worry momentarily eased, she smiled politely. "I haven't tried them long, but I've heard many doctors recommend them." He nodded, purchased the box, then left. When Amara stepped outside, searching for him, he was gone, only a flicker of a security camera LED remained. Questions battered her mind. Who was he? Is he connected to my stalker? Sleepless nights followed. Near dawn, her heart raced, the darkness pressing in. She lay still, afraid to move. She told herself, stay calm, for the baby's sake. To cope, she began journaling, daily emotions, odd events, descriptions of the stalker. But the more she wrote, the stronger her fear grew. She considered a GPS tracking app but feared leaking her IP. Instead, she placed a large potted plant in front of her window and built a bookshelf as a screen, closing curtains each night. When clients complained about video calls, she blamed poor internet, insisting email sufficed. Determined to protect herself and her child, Amara resolved that if the threat persisted, she'd move again, perhaps even leave Belgium. But constant relocation risked destabilizing her pregnancy. In her darkest moment, she sat under the desk lamp, hand on her belly, whispering, I'm sorry I can't shield you completely, little one. But I promise to keep you safe, whatever dangers lie beyond. That promise kindled new determination. She would not let her past and its lurking phantoms shape her future. She would fight, for her life, for her happiness, for the angel soon to be born. Nearly 2 months after moving to Ghent, Amara's bump was prominent, and the baby thrived. She named him Noah, a simple, comforting name like an April sunrise on the Lae. All seemed calm, until an unexpected figure shattered her peace. One Sunday afternoon, Amara strolled through Citadel Park with baby Noah in a softline bassinet. Children played and laughed across the lawn. She settled on a bench, cradling the infant, soaking in the pale sun. Then a voice called softly but clearly, Emma? Amara's eyes widened, her heart tightened. She lowered her hand from the bassinet to look. At the path's end strode a tall man with a familiar face, Marc Dubois, Emma's childhood friend from Utrecht, now a renowned architect in Paris, in Ghent for a renovation project. They had once been classmates, few knew how talented she'd been. Marc drew near, eyes flicking to her rounded belly, then frowned. You have a baby? Amara nodded stiffly, yes. His name is Noah. Marc gasped, his hand rising to touch his chest as if to confirm reality. His joy turned to stunned confusion. But, how? Amara forced a weak smile. He's my son. Marc hesitated, then spoke with aching longing. Emma, 10 years ago I always believed one day I'd be a father. Her chest stung. She froze, meeting his gaze as he continued. I planned to move to Brussels to be closer to you. But I never imagined. He stepped forward, voice trembling. Emma, I thought Noah was mine. Amara was speechless. Marc, burdened, blurted, I searched everywhere after you left Amsterdam. I didn't know who the father was. I just loved you and hoped. She hesitated, eyes brimming with tears. He knelt beside Noah's bassinet, tentatively reaching to lift the baby. Will you let me be his father? Startled, Amara sprang up, voice trembling. No, you cannot. This is my child alone. She shoved Marc back. He cried out, desperation in his eyes. If you won't let me have him, I'll take him. Onlookers gasped. Marc yanked the bassinet, sprinting down the cobblestone street with a crying Noah in his arms. Amara shrieked, racing after them. Bystanders tried to block Marc, but he plunged ahead, clutching the wailing infant. Frozen, Amara sank to the grass, tears spilling. Noah! Noah! A young man in a vest grabbed Marc's arm. Hey, what are you doing? Give her back her baby. Marc snarled, but the crowd subdued him until a police officer with a yellow armband stepped forward to restrain him. The baby was released into Amara's arms, sobbing. She hugged him fiercely, terrified of losing him again. Lucas de Wilde, the suited gentleman from Liège, emerged from the crowd, stunned. Emma? Emma looked up, tears still streaming, to see Lucas's anxious, protective glare. The crisis had climaxed, and she realized she could no longer run. Lucas forced his way through the onlookers to Mark and Amara. Mark still clutched Noah, crying out, "My child! He's my son!" Lucas strode in, seizing Mark's arm and yanking Noah into his own embrace. The bassinet toppled aside. Lucas held the baby close, shielding him. The baby's cries grew fainter in Lucas's strong arms. Neighborhood officers, alerted by witnesses, arrived and handcuffed Mark after a struggle. Mark raged, "I'm his father. I have rights." A young officer signaled for quiet. "You're charged with child abduction in public. We will record and investigate parental claims." Emma rushed to Lucas's side, grabbing his sleeve. "Lucas, thank you for coming in time. Please hold him." Lucas bent to kiss Noah's forehead, replying gently, "I'll never let anyone harm you or your child." Under the street lamp's yellow glow, Emma clung to her son, tears flowing. She looked at Lucas with deep gratitude, then turned to Mark, being led away. Mark's face was etched with remorse and fury. He shouted, "Emma! Tell me, is this child mine or not?" Emma stepped back, voice firm despite her tears. "Have a paternity test." "It's nothing to do with you, Mark." An officer jotted notes. "Miss Yance, please provide identification to verify custody." Emma produced her Amara Yance passport and a Ghent temporary residence receipt. Officers compared it to Mark Dubois's records while Lucas stayed close, guiding her away from onlookers streaming live on mobile. At Ghent Centre Police Station, Mark was detained. Lucas and Amara were invited inside. A forensic doctor and court clerk explained, "To establish parentage, we will take Noah's blood sample for DNA testing. Results will be available within 72 hours. Emma clasped Lucas's hand. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, just thankful our child is safe," he replied. Staff escorted Noah for sampling while Lucas and Amara waited in the stark hallway, hearts tight. When Noah returned, police allowed Lucas to keep him under supervision and gave Emma the sampling receipt. Before leaving, the chief officer addressed them. "Mr. De Wilde and Ms. Yance will be notified when the DNA results are ready. Until then, please cooperate for the child's best interest." On the way back to their rented flat, Lucas held Noah close. The baby, likely tired from the procedure, dozed in his arms. Emma followed, feeling buoyant. She had survived her worst nightmare, and Lucas's presence and her son's warmth renewed her faith in the future. In Lucas's words as he rescued them in the square, "I will never let anyone harm you or our child." Emma whispered back, "Yes, we will protect him together." 3 days after the Ghent incident, Amara Yance and Lucas De Wilde received a summons from Ghent Centre Police Station. Mr. De Wilde and Ms. Yance are requested at the station to receive the DNA test results for baby Noah. On Wednesday morning, under drizzling skies, Lucas carried sleepy Noah as Assistant Elliot led them into a small meeting room. A wooden table, upholstered chairs, and glaring fluorescent lights. At the head sat Dr. Ellen Verbruggen, the forensic pediatrician, behind a thick dossier. Lucas placed Noah in a chair, kissed his forehead, then looked to Amara, concern and love mingling in his eyes. "Lucas, softly, are you okay?" Amara, nodding, voice trembling, I'm fine." Dr. Verbruggen tapped the folder. "The DNA results confirm, baby Noah is the biological child of Mr. Lucas De Wilde. Mr. Mark Dubois's sample shows no genetic relation. This conclusion is based on 16 genetic markers, with 99.999% accuracy." Time seemed to freeze. Lucas and Amara exchanged looks of profound relief. Lucas grabbed a pen to sign the acknowledgement, then sprang up and embraced Amara, joy shining in his eyes. "Lucas," into her ear, "Noah is our child, yours and mine." Tears streamed down Amara's cheeks. She leaned into his shoulder. "Amara, I can't believe it." Lucas kissed her hair, then turned to Noah with a bright smile. "Lucas, I'm sorry I was late. From now on, I'll never leave you." Noah stirred and blinked sleepily at his young father. Lucas lifted him onto his lap, coaxing a smile, then faced Amara. "Lucas, let's go home, love." With paperwork complete, Amara and Lucas left the station. Mark, released on bail with a promise to end the dispute, waited nearby. His face was drawn with regret. Mark approached, bowing his head. Mark, Emma, Lucas. I'm sorry. I lost control that day. Thank you for saving your child. Lucas shook Mark's hand, stern yet gracious. Lucas, and I apologize for the mistaken arrest. Now the truth is clear. I hope we can accept the past as a lesson. Emma gave Mark a brief hug. Thank you that our baby is safe. Take care and find happiness. Mark nodded with a faint smile. I wish you and Lucas all the best. They parted into 3 separate ways under the drizzling rain. On the drive back to their Ghent flat, Lucas held Emma's hand. Lucas, I will handle all custody and care arrangements for baby Noah. You just need to rest and recuperate. Emma smiled, raindrops glistening on her hair. Emma, thank you. I know, I won't run away again. Along the Laie, the little family crossed St. Michael's Bridge under warm lamplight. The rain fell softly, but within them shone a bright dawn of promise. Nearly 3 months after their divorce took effect, and 3 months since Emma, now going by Amara Yance, settled into life with Lucas and baby Noah, Amsterdam at daybreak blushed with dawn. The city awoke along the Spiegelgracht, mist glimmering on the canal. After receiving the DNA results, Emma Yance, birth name Emma de Vries, decided once more to return to Amsterdam to finalize legal matters, close the past chapter, and begin anew for herself and her son. Lucas drove Emma and Noah in his small blue hatchback across the Belgian-Dutch border. Noah dozed in his car seat, lulled by soft classical radio. Emma, clutching her maternity dress, gazed out at fields of tulips unfurling buds along the roadside. She reflected on the 10 years since leaving Utrecht to study interior design in Paris, the heartbreak of betrayal by her husband, and the 2 lonely months as Amara Yance in Brussels and Ghent. Now she felt a rare clarity, her inner sky was finally free. Arriving in Amsterdam's city centre, they stopped at the district court on Vigilstraat. Emma took her passport and documents in hand. Stepping onto the cool marble floor, she signed the divorce papers prepared by her lawyer. Beside her, Lucas stood steady, his hand on her shoulder lending strength. At midday, after formalities were complete, Emma and Lucas arranged to meet Alexander de Vries at their old penthouse, the site of countless sweet and bitter memories. The spacious living room overlooked the canal, furniture neatly arranged. Alexander, still in a sleek black suit, stood by the window holding a glass of white wine. He turned at a soft knock. Emma. Lucas. Regret and confusion flickered in his eyes. Emma entered, cradling Noah. The baby blinked up at the unfamiliar man. Alexander froze, voice hoarse. My child. Emma gently placed Noah in a small chair beside the sofa, then faced Alexander. The court has confirmed legally, Noah is Lucas's son. Alexander bowed his head in pain. Emma. I forgive you. I was wrong. His voice trembled, shoulders shaking. Lucas laid a protective arm around Emma. I'm sorry, Alex. Whatever you need, we'll respect it. Alexander looked up slowly, tears in his eyes. No. I'm still your husband, at least for now. I would like to meet Noah once. Emma glanced at Lucas. He nodded, giving her the choice. She approached and lifted Noah, placing him in Alexander's arms. His full name is Noah de Wilde. Alexander's fingers trembled as they brushed the baby's hair. In a shaky voice, Hello, Noah. I'm Alexander. Seeing the wealthy father in elegant attire, quivering with emotion, Emma's heart softened. She knew that despite everything, Alexander was still the father of her past life. In her enlarged heart, she welcomed this moment of closure. After a few moments of silence, Emma spoke softly. Hold him a little while. Lucas and I will go finish the paperwork. Alexander nodded, his eyes heavy. Thank you. Emma and Lucas left the penthouse, their footsteps echoing in the lobby. On the way to the lawyer's office, Emma exhaled, "We did the right thing." Lucas smiled, hand on her belly, "Now it's only us." Emma looked at him, overflowing with gratitude. At the law office's spotless desk, the divorce decree was stamped effective. Emma signed under wife, Lucas under witness. A copy fluttered to the floor, revealing custody, Lucas de Wilde. Emma read it, tears welling. "Will he only call you father?" Lucas embraced her, "And you will be mother." They smiled in that peaceful closing of the morning. That afternoon, Emma led Lucas and Noah on a stroll along the Prinsengracht. Slow boats drifted by, tulips bloomed along the banks. The late sun tinted the old brick walls pink. Noah sat snug in his bassinet, delighting in the view and laughing at passing swans. Emma clasped Lucas's hand, whispering, "I thought I'd never breathe freely again. Thank you for giving me and our son faith and happiness." Lucas bent to kiss her temple. "With me, you're always safe." Under the Oudkirk Bridge arch, their little family paused to watch the sunset. Golden rays danced on the water, promising a new dawn bright and warm. 5 years later, on a gentle early summer morning in 2030, sunlight poured into their cottage in Zandschans, a countryside haven famed for windmills and silent canals. No longer in a bustling Prinsengracht apartment, the family of Lucas de Wilde, Emma Jans, Noah, and little Luna now lived in a warm wooden home with tulip gardens and a pen for a few domestic ducks. At 6:30 a.m., light filtered through the cherry tree's leaves onto red tiles. Upstairs, the laughter of two children woke Emma. 6-year-old Noah, tall with golden hair like dried wheat, always wore a mischievous grin. 3-year-old Luna Isabella, chubby-cheeked with big bright eyes, clutched her cloth doll and toddled everywhere. Emma rose and smiled at her husband. Lucas was packing the family's clothes into small backpacks for a picnic. He slipped his arm around Emma and whispered, "Today we'll visit the windmill reserve so the kids can see the mills turning and cycle along the canals." Emma bent to kiss her children. "Noah, Luna, I've made multigrain bread and packed some chocolate for the family." Noah pumped his fist, "I want a bike with Dad." Luna bounced on the bed, "Me too, me too." By late morning they reached Zandschans Reserve. Giant windmills turned slowly in the breeze, casting long shadows on green fields. Wooden footbridges and mirror-like canals reflected warm timber houses. Lucas lifted Luna onto his shoulders, pointing to the Decat mill. "Luna, look at those sails spinning." Luna's eyes widened, "It's so beautiful, like giant fans." Noah pedaled happily beside his father. "Dad, I thought windmills were just in fairy tales." Emma, camera slung at her waist, captured each facet of their joy. She glanced at her father-in-law, now a close friend, as he and the children wandered along the path. At noon they picnicked by the canal, a blue and white striped blanket beneath them. The wicker basket held black bread, Gouda cheese, smoked sausage, and apple juice. Lucas poured cool juice, and they gathered in a small circle. Noah slowly savored his cheese, then asked, "Mom, can I work on a playground design like you?" Emma smiled, promising, "Of course. I'll teach you to draw, and one day we'll go to city planning together." Luna clung to her mother. "Mom, can you make chocolate for me?" Emma kissed her hair. "I'll make chocolate for you 10 times over." The breeze teased Emma's hair, the leaves rustling, a living watercolor. They sat in quiet bliss, their former sorrows and chaos now a distant memory. That afternoon, they parked by the traditional cheese mill workshop. Lucas took Emma's hand. "Thank you for trusting me and walking this path." Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. "You are my haven, my true family." They snapped a family selfie by a windmill, Noah and Luna beaming, a perfect capture of their journey from heartbreak to full happiness. On the bike ride home, with the sunset streaking purple across the sky, Emma gazed through the window, windmills, flower fields, wooden rooftops, and the tranquil canal. Gratitude welled within her. From that humble bassinet in a Ghent flat to our dream home by the windmills, our road may be winding, but the dawn always awaits at its end. Beside her, Lucas squeezed her hand. "We'll write the next chapters together." Noah called from the rear seat. "We love you, Mom and Dad." Luna chimed in singing, "We love you, Mom and Dad." Dawn's first light shimmered on the barley fields beyond, a golden promise of a bright future. The small family, Emma, Lucas, Noah, and Luna, cycled on toward their warm wooden home, carried forward by love and unwavering hope.